Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. In this 10-minute moan, I look at a story that's breaking this morning, which I believe will further split the cosy relationship between SNP and Greens. Now, if you want to support the channel, you can become a member, or you can subscribe, which is free, or just simply hit a thumbs up when you see a video. That'd be great, thanks. Now, SNP are in a really tricky situation, a catch-22, as it were. They have fallen out with the Greens, and they understand that the policies that have been driven by the Greens were potentially going to lose them seats at elections as the electorate got sick of the wokey lefty cuddly type things like transgender and the heat pumps and stuff like that, all these things that the Greens hold dear. So SNP have realised that that was pushing people away from them. But the catch-22 part is, now they're in the minority government, they'll rely on the Greens to help them stay in government. Because at any moment, if the Greens fall out with them, there's a vote of no confidence, that wins, there is no SNP government. So I'm in a bit of a tricky situation. And this story I'm about to read out to you, I believe, will potentially drive a wedge further between both of parties, which would be great. Now, Daily Record put this online this morning. 5 years since Nicola Sturgeon declared climate emergency, SNP warned against green backsliding. It's feared flagship policies to decarbonise domestic heating, such as by phasing out gas boilers and replacing them with heat pumps, could be under threat. Well, that kind of makes sense because the heat pumps are a fortune and don't seem to be too popular. The Scottish Government has been warned against dumping green measures 5 years on from Nicola Sturgeon's declaration of a climate emergency. It feared flagship policies to decarbonise domestic heating, such as phasing out gas boilers and replacing them with heat pumps, could be under threat. Fantastic. New First Minister John Swinney is reportedly considering a cull of policies deemed controversial after the collapse of the SNP Green Coalition at Holyrood. And eco charities, fuel poverty groups, and industry now fear the government's heat and buildings bill could face the axe or be significantly watered down. Well, if it did get the axe or was significantly watered down, it'd probably be the first right thing that the SNP have done in 17 years. However, the proposals previously spearheaded Patrick Harvey required all homes to meet new energy standards by 2033 and to replace boilers with clean heat systems by 2045. It was hoped the plan could spark a wave of public and private investment to insulate and retrofit people's homes and lower bills. But with an astonishing 33 billion price tag, 33 billion, you heard me right. And that's the SNP's guesses, so by the time they'd done it, they would probably be 10 years late and the 33 billion would be double or treble that because that's what they do. Anyway, there have been concerns about how the plans will impact on cash-strapped households. Well, it'll save the nation 33 billion quid, which would need to be paid for by tax, so it's probably a great impact on cash-strapped households because those that work will be slightly better off. Fabrice Lavec, Climate and Energy Policy Manager at WWF Scotland. 5 years on from declaring a climate emergency, there's no more time for Scottish Government to delay in bringing forward the emergency response required to put our climate ambitions back on track. Okay. We know that by fitting better insulation and moving away from fossil fuel boilers, energy bills are not only lowered, but people live in warmer, healthier homes. Right. I can understand by putting insulation in a house. That would help your bill. I totally get that. That makes really, really good sense to me. Most boilers are on thermostats, so if heat goes out the house, the boiler stays on all the time. If the heat doesn't go out the house, the temperature of the house rises, the boiler turns itself on and off throughout the day. That's if you leave it on 24 hours with a thermostat, right? You would save money. But I'm not sure how getting away from fossil fuels helps your energy bills because, let me just quote some of the figures by the SNP. The SNP already claim that Scotland produces all of its 100%, over 100% actually, of its energy required for the area of Scotland, right? Now, not all of that gets put into the grid. But if even 50% of it did, and it was cheaper than fossil fuels, then we would see a decrease in our bills. We don't, right? So that's a lot of nonsense. I totally agree with half of your comment about insulation. That would work. That can't fail to work. You put something on your walls, your ceilings, even underfloor, all these things to cold heat in a house. That would help your bills. No denying that. But see, that's nonsense about fossil fuels somehow giving us higher bills. Well, we ain't seen any evidence of that whatsoever. It might be that the renewables are cheaper to produce. However, that ain't reflecting on people's bills. What it probably will be is the businesses are either A, taking more profit out of renewable fuels, or the investment required to produce the renewable energy contradicts any savings that you would have in the first place. But it is incorrect to tell me that getting rid of fossil fuel boilers will somehow make my energy bills better. Ain't really. Industry is also crying out for some certainty when it comes to rolling out heat pumps and heat network. Any further delay in heat and buildings bill could put at risk not only our net zero targets, but the creation of thousands of jobs. Again, this is a thing that we just get flung out. They just fling this out quite a lot when they're talking about green policies, how it's going to create jobs. Well, I get that, but who's going to fit the heat pumps? Probably the people that are fitting gas boilers and stuff now. Like the engineers, gas engineers and heating engineers, those guys. So where's these creation of thousands of jobs coming from? And the total fallacy about these wind farms. You can run the biggest wind farm in Scotland with about 6 people. So I'm not sure where all these thousands of jobs are coming from. However, former FM Nicola Sturgeon declared a climate emergency in 2019, but 5 years on, our government's flagship target to slash emissions by 75% by 2030 has been ditched as unrealistic. Caroline Rance of Friends of the Earth Scotland said, 5 years on, it's hard to see the Scottish Government declaration of a climate emergency declaration as anything other than empty symbolism. Politicians stood up and shouted fire, then sat back down and did next to nothing about it. The world getting hotter and more dangerous around us all. The world's getting hotter and it's more dangerous. I'm fed up with this, right? The world is quite an old rock, right, in the middle of space. And through all the time of its evolution, it has got warmer and colder, right? I ain't listening any. I'm not saying that putting pollution into the atmosphere is a good thing, right? I'm not saying that at all. But see the scaremongering behind this whole movement, it's starting to really do my nothing, right? The Earth evolves constantly. And I can't remember the summers now being far warmer than the summers when I was a kid. Remember we had like hosepipe bands. I lived through that. 76. Extremely hot. No rain. Droughts in the United Kingdom. Right? But that was what? 45 years ago? Nearly 50 years ago. What am I thinking? Forgetting how old I am. So, we've all got acid rain. Remember that? If you're old enough. That was going to be the next climate disaster. We were going to have this acid rain that would mean we couldn't get out of our houses. None of these things have actually happened. Are the ice caps melting? Probably. Does that mean I'm going to get a tidal wave up my street in my lifetime? Probably not. If there was zero carbon emissions, by humans, would we still have melting ice caps? Maybe. Right? It's just, like, shut up. Right? Stop telling me that we live in a more dangerous place because I have a gas boiler. Right? It's... And the other thing, if you know, there's things like we actually need CO2 in our atmosphere. The planet doesn't work without it, right? And the levels of CO2 in our atmosphere are so minuscule, like less than 1%, that I don't believe it's going to make much difference whether I use my kettle this morning or not. Well, people in China are building a brand new coal-powered energy plant every week. Right? So let's no major on the minor. Let's just take a wee step back here. And is the climate changing? 100%. Oh, undeniable. Climate does change because Earth evolves. Okay? So anyway, back to this and away from my rant for a wee minute. If a mass programme of home insulation had begun with that declaration, the impact of subsequent energy prices would have been greatly reduced. No, energy prices would not be greatly reduced. But your energy bills might, because, as I spoke earlier, it's like putting a duvet on your house when you insulate. But these people can't even get their sentences right. So this Caroline Ramsay of the Friends of the Earth telling us that the world's getting hotter and more dangerous, and by insulating your home, that has an impact on energy prices. No, that doesn't. Energy bills maybe, but the kilowatt of energy would cost no different if I've got insulation in my house. Anyway, we told last year how a poll of WWF Scotland found more than half of Scots support phasing out gas boilers, and nearly 6 in 10 would be willing to buy a heat pump for their home. See, no, not having that either. I think once you find out how much they cost, you'd maybe change your mind. You'd be willing to buy it if it was heavy subsidised. But as we've seen with the one of the court buildings up north, it was going to cost something like 300 years to get back the money that it cost to make the house, or sorry, the building greener. A lot of nonsense. So anyway, listen, there's hundreds of like waffle in this story, and I ain't going to sit and read it all out. But what I will say is, go and do it, SNP. Start cutting back on these bills, energy ones and the gender recognition bills. Do it. One, because it's the right thing to do, and two, because the Greens will flip, right? They will go tonto and potentially bring your government down. So crack on and try it. All right? If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. But most importantly of all, unless you're one of these mad tree huggers or the SNP that don't know how to deal with them, everybody else have a great day. Cheery bye now.